I think that it's fair to say that Star Wars is currently in the worst position it has ever been in. The sequel trilogy really rubbed people the wrong way, but the Disney Plus shows have put the nail in the coffin for most Star Wars fans. Ever since The Last Jedi, Star Wars has been on a downward spiral that it has never been able to dig itself out of. And even when the occasional good project comes along, it is completely overshadowed and outweighed by the number of shitty projects that have come out of Disney Star Wars. Looking at the live-action Disney Plus shows specifically, it started off strong with The Mandalorian Season 1, but then it started to go downhill from there. Mandalorian Season 2 was fine, but a lot of people weren't a fan of the excessive cameos. The Book of Boba Fett was an extreme drop in quality from The Mandalorian. Obi-Wan Kenobi was one giant fuck you to the fanbase. Andor was pretty good, but nobody watched it. And Mandalorian Season 3 was trash. And this leads me to Ahsoka, which is coming to Disney Plus on August 23rd. It's sad for me to say, but I lost faith in Lucasfilm a couple of years back. And as a result, I have absolutely no faith in this show delivering. If you asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I would have been excited to see a live-action Ahsoka series, I would have been super hyped. I was a big fan of her character in the Clone Wars, and even though I didn't like Rebels that much, that show often was at its best when she was around. And even though it looks like this show is sort of going to be a continuation of Rebels, I still would have been excited to see a sort of live-action continuation of that story. But in modern context, I just can't get excited for this show anymore. A few years back, in the swarm of all the garbage that Lucasfilm had been producing, Dave Filoni seemed to be the one bright spot in that company. But even the last couple projects that he has produced have been shit. So I don't even have confidence in him anymore. Dave Filoni really does well on the small screen when he's working in animation, but every time he has stepped foot into the live-action sphere, it's always turned out bad or okay at best. Looking at the actual show itself, it actually does take place in an interesting part of the timeline. It seems like the showrunners are going to give a variation of the Heir to the Empire storyline, where Grand Admiral Thrawn emerges from the unknown regions of the galaxy with the remnants of the Empire wreaking havoc on the galaxy. But even though this storyline on the surface is very interesting, I keep having to remind myself in the back of my head that there is a 99% chance that they're gonna fuck it up. In particular, I am very worried that they are going to absolutely destroy Thrawn. Thrawn is one of my top 3 favorite villains in Star Wars, and I can't bear the thought of him getting the Darth Vader treatment like he got in Kenobi. I don't think that there is any chance that I'll be satisfied by what they do with him, because the only person that has ever actually written Thrawn well is Timothy Zahn, the author that created him in the first place. In terms of the rest of the characters, I'm not very excited to see the Ghost crew at all. Sabine and Ezra were terrible in Rebels and really brung down the maturity that could have been in that show. And it looks like they're going to be key parts in Ahsoka, especially Sabine. I do think, however, that Ahsoka herself will be pretty good. If there is one thing that I still have confidence in about Dave Filoni, I know he knows how to write Ahsoka well. Rosario Dawson is also a good lead actress, but will definitely have the weight of carrying the entire show on her back. I'm hopeful though, because I've been satisfied with her brief appearances in other Star Wars media so far. I think that it just comes down to whether or not the stuff around her specifically is written any well by Dave Filoni. There are also these 2 dark Jedi characters that are going to be introduced. This is pretty interesting in theory and would be really awesome to see done well, but I don't know, man. All the footage that I've seen so far of these 2 looks goofy as fuck. And the reasons that it looks goofy as fuck, I think, is because all the shots I've seen of them so far look super cheap, which really leads into a different issue in of itself. Star Wars has definitely had a problem with all their stuff looking really cheap lately. This is what happens when you pump out a live-action show every 4 to 5 months or so, because the money that Lucasfilm has gets spread super thin, and as a result, these shows do not have the budgets necessary to make them look anywhere near as good as the movies. If Star Wars stopped trying to be like modern Marvel and took 10 to 12 months in between shows, I guarantee you that the quality would skyrocket. The one show that actually did have a decent sized budget was Andor, and it looked the best out of all the Disney Plus shows. So I don't know why they don't realize that. Spread the shows out so they can get the proper budgets needed so that they can look as good as Andor. In the Ahsoka trailer, you can see a handful of shots that look amazing, but it's obvious that that's where the majority of the budget is going because the rest of the shots look super cheap. One of the greatest things about Star Wars under George Lucas is it pushed the standards of visual effects to new heights every time a new project came out. But now, Star Wars has just been reduced to barely passable CGI, and it's an absolute shame. This show is also scheduled to be just 8 episodes, which is super underwhelming. I hate the fact that Lucasfilm has gotten in the habit of releasing 6 to 8 30-minute episodes and then calling it a season. It's just so disappointing for people that invest so much time into this universe like myself, and really just shows that the writers are not creative enough to do any better. In conclusion, I don't think that Ahsoka will be as bad of a train wreck like Obi-Wan Kenobi was, but I'm extremely confident that this will just be the next piece of sludge half-assedly pumped out by the insult that this company has become. I am so tired of Star Wars being shit, and I desperately yearn for the day when Star Wars might return to its former glory. But for now, us loyal fans are just gonna have to continue to eat the shit that the Lucasfilm elites continue to give us. And there is nothing that we can do about it, but wait for better days to come. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when I post my next video. But anyways, that's all I got for today, guys. I'll see you next time.